You recall earlier on we saw Michael Schumacher as the McLaren dives into the pit lane. Schumacher passing what looked very close to a waved yellow flag. There's nothing from the stewards about investigating that incident at the moment. Coulthard pits.
Montoya pits too. So that'll put a smile on the face of the Ferrari team. The Williams and McLaren team were clearly running less fuel in qualifying yesterday. So there is Montoya then. And obviously, oh no, Ted!
Yes, there is a problem. The first fuel rig failed yet again. Why does this happen so often for Williams? David Coulthard stops going fine. He's away. Montoya delayed. What a disaster. Off he goes.
How much more can go wrong for one Montoya today? It's been his fortune has been swinging around like a pendulum. Absolutely extraordinary, and we're still not even close to half distance in this Grand Prix. So much more can happen here, but Montoya filters back into the field.
Well, clearly that could be a pivotal moment in the World Championship deciding action, and Montoya would have lost probably about 12 seconds there, I would estimate. We only came to it late in vision, but they didn't start the clock until after his complete tyre change and everything was finished, and there is more water coming down then. This will play back into his hands, providing it doesn't get wet enough for a full wet tyre. Alonso pits from second, there you see it. Raikkonen leads by 7.3 from Alonso. Now it's from Michael Schumacher. He's 10.2 ahead of Michael Schumacher. So Raikkonen effortlessly at the front at the moment as everybody else is having dramas. And I would imagine Coulthard will be well pleased to have changed those tyres. He was really struggling.
Well, the rain seems to be coming down harder as Alonso goes back out onto the racetrack with dry weather tyres on. We could certainly see some more changes in conditions here at Indianapolis this weekend. Raikkonen leading Michael Schumacher then by 10 seconds. Third is Trulli. Fourth at the moment, Mark Webber. These are all people who have not made a pit stop. Jenson Button fifth. Alonso rejoins, having made his stop. Justin Wilson seventh at the moment. Ralf Schumacher, we've seen him in the pits. He's eighth. Frentzen has yet to stop. He's ninth. Coulthard is 10th, just ahead of Juan Montoya, who after that sticking fuel nozzle is down in 11th place.
Surely Raikkonen will pit this time. Traditionally, the McLarens tend to have an optimum strategy and they pit their cars one lap apart. Ralf Schumacher getting rid of one of the rip-offs on his visor. He'll probably have 3 or 4 of those on for the Grand Prix distance. There's Frentzen. He is in 9th at the moment, has yet to pit as he's under pressure from Alonso. Ted.
Raikkonen pits right in front of me. It is raining again now, guys, but they are putting slicks back on. We've seen how well these Michelin tyres can cope with a bit of rain. The fuel goes in. Ferrari still to pit. That's a decent stop, 10.9.
And because he had a decent lead over Michael Schumacher of about 10 seconds, seems to me they took the opportunity for another second and a half, 20 litres of fuel. And Raikkonen exits then straight virtually into the side of, crucially, Ralf Schumacher.
Yes, because Ralf Schumacher was in second place, if you remember, before this whole pit stop sequence started. Him coming into the pits allowed Montoya to go up into second place. So effectively, net, Ralf Schumacher is leading this Grand Prix because Michael Schumacher has yet to make a pit stop. So has Jarno Trulli, Mark Webber and Jenson Button, who are currently the still top 4 guys at the moment. Rain coming down harder than ever, and a difficult decision now for Ferrari. What do they do? Do they go for dry tyres or wet tyres? At the moment, the lap times have only gone off by a couple of seconds based on the compared to the pace of a couple of laps ago.
Look at a little Alonso in there as well behind us. I agree with you, James. This is sort of net for the lead of the Grand Prix when they've all stopped. And Alonso right in the thick of the action as Michael Schumacher pits then. What on earth are they going to put on it? It can only be dry tyres, surely. And I mean, it's such a gamble to risk those inters. Let's see if we can see what they're putting on. Get out of the way, please. Please get out of the way. We want to know. Yes, dry tyres going on the Ferrari then. That'll be a handful when he gets out.
Certainly will. The pace is dropping off a little bit more now as the more and more water comes down. Even in the first sector, a couple of seconds down. Now look at this, side by side, Raikkonen and Alonso. This is a tremendous scrap for the first 3 positions net of the Grand Prix once everybody's made their pit stops. This is the centre of attention here at the Grand Prix.
And that little Renault was flying when the conditions were like this earlier on in the race, when we had that first little drizzle of rain. It's a bit heavier now. Now the track has changed colour down here. This is getting very near the zone of needing something more. And there's a car running wide, but the three contenders then still virtually nose to tail.
Everybody's sliding. Mark Webber, for the record, is leading the Grand Prix at the moment. Jenson Button is in second place, and the Jaguar of Justin Wilson is third. So that's the position at the moment as Jenson Button goes off the course. There's a scramble down there in the tight, twisty section. You see how much the traffic plays a part here in Indianapolis.
Yeah, I don't think the Toyota's in the action because they lost a lot of time early on. But surely Wilson is. Wilson just passed Button. Ferrari are ready. Clearly they're going to put intermediates on Michael Schumacher. But only be Schumacher. Barrichello, of course, already out of the race. The inters are going on. The Bridgestones will not work in these conditions. The track has now visibly become wet. And also, just to add to Montoya's problems, you tell them, James.
I don't believe this. Drive-through penalty for car number 3 for causing a collision. Well, that's what we said would be the sanction if, in fact, the stewards decided that the accident between Montoya and Rubens Barrichello was avoidable. They have, and he'll have to do a drive-through penalty. Here comes the Ferrari then. Michael Schumacher, the sole remaining Ferrari in the Grand Prix. He was only in a couple of laps ago. It was the wrong choice to go out on dry tyres. Now he's coming in for the correct tyres.
Yeah, but it wasn't raining anything like this at the time. I think this will work if it keeps raining, this is going to work perfectly. Some of the front runners are going to fall off the track. It's too wet for those Michelin dries, but they know they haven't got a decent tyre to put on in its place. There goes the intermediate. It's a very shallow tyre, and they have an incredible range, those tyres. They can run to within about 3 seconds of a dry time, and Michael Schumacher will have a big grin on his face underneath that crash helmet, knowing he needs those tyres because he knows that the Michelin runners don't have an answer for those.
No, and of course he'll also be... Oh, Ralf Schumacher is off the track.
Left rear damage too. As I said, they're going to go off the road with it. Those tyres will not cope with these conditions, and his left rear, I think, is damaged. His left rear, not yours, and I think he's got a problem. Yeah, and the rear wing's broken too. Ralf Schumacher effectively out of contention.
Yeah, just look at that left rear wheel, completely useless, as you can see. He'll be taking no further part, and that's a real shame for him, because when things all shook out, as it was looking, he would have been leading the Grand Prix. Just reversing then up the escape road. Mark Webber is still being shown as the race leader. Here he is.
Raikkonen and Alonso pit. Michael Schumacher is going to be waltzing away now as they have to come in and put wet tyres on. Kimi Raikkonen pits now. There goes Mark Webber with a spin. Coulthard is currently shown as the leader of the Grand Prix as the pit stops begin. That's the second stop for Raikkonen. There's a rooster tail of spray behind the cars as they pass the commentary box window and head down into turn 1, Ted.
Juan Montoya is in the pit lane serving his drive-through penalty now, but bad news for him, and is this his championship going down the drain with the rain? He's going to have to come in the next lap for wet tyres.
Yes, just to remind you, when you serve a penalty, a drive-through, it's at the speed limit of 50 miles an hour, and they cannot work on the car in any way, shape or form. So everybody's stopped then, with the exception at the moment of Mark Webber,
who we just saw having a bit of a spin. Jenson Button's enjoying this phase of the race. The Bridgestone wet tyre is definitely considerably better than the Michelin. That's the big picture here at Indianapolis. There's the Jaguar off the racetrack. Mark Webber's car, we're being told, off the race. That's a shame for him. But the big picture here, Martin, is that if it stays raining like this, Michael Schumacher is in the box seats, because throughout this weekend, once again, when we've had wet running, we've seen that the Bridgestones were a couple of seconds a lap faster than the Michelins. Here's Montoya then, going slowly.
Yeah, he looks like Granny creeping down to the supermarket. He can't go any faster than that. He'll do exactly the same as Ralf Schumacher, his teammate's done, and Mark Webber. He'll just snatch the wheels and skid straight into the barrier. Here he goes. Look, now he's got a tippy toe down the grass. He'll get away with that. It's costing him 20-30 seconds. He's on the wrong tyres. The overtake under the yellow flag probably cost him the Formula One World Championship, but these conditions are not helping him at all. But I remind you, there are 50 laps to go yet.
There's McLaren dicing with Justin Wilson. That's Raikkonen and Wilson. Battle for third place. Amazing to see Justin Wilson up there holding his own with everybody else. He's made one pit stop, and he was lucky because basically he came in at exactly the right moment to put on the wet tyres. He'd gone very long on his fuel strategy, and it played into his hands, but he's having a real trouble keeping the car on the road, as is Kimi Raikkonen.
Yeah.